Personality types. Discover your true type through elaborate analyses. Written by Tyler Bourdan. Narrated by Thomas Cassidy. Chapter 1. What is your personality type? One of the most worthwhile things you can do to live a deeply fulfilling and satisfying life is to know thyself, as the Greek philosopher Socrates said. What exactly does this mean, and how do you do it? We all have special gifts. Sometimes it's just hard to uncover and see them for ourselves. Once you understand your basic type, of which there are 16, it becomes easier to recognize your own strengths and weaknesses. So, why bother understanding these? One good reason is that you will bring into your conscious mind those parts of yourself that you know aren't great or well developed. It's really about learning to love and accept yourself. Once you've done this, life seems to become so much easier because you are not fighting the elephant in the room or forcing yourself to live a life or lifestyle not suited to you. It also helps you to see more clearly your personal strengths and how to play them and live a life that uses and complements them. In other words, it's another tool for living your most authentic life. So, let's have a look at the framework of the test. There are 4 basic aspects to the human personality. 1. How we interact with the world. 2. Where we direct our energy. 3. The kind of information we naturally notice. 4. How we make decisions and whether we prefer a more structured way of life or a more spontaneous way. Some people call these 4 aspects dimensions because each one can be pictured as a continuum or line between 2 extremes, like this. E. Extroversion to introversion. I. S. Sensing to intuition. N. T. Thinking to feeling. F. J. Judging to perceiving. P. When you do the test, you will end up with 4 letters in a particular sequence which will give you the basic scaffold of your type. You will either be an E or an I, an S or an N, a T or an F, and a J or a P. I'm going to explain what those words, letters, mean, because it's slightly different from normal usage. 1. The I/E dimension. The first continuum is that of extroversion and introversion. These words are often loaded with positive and negative connotations, which are not helpful. One is not better than the other, just different. Extroverts are outward-turning. They get their energy from spending time with people. They are action-oriented and seek breadth of knowledge. They tend to act, then reflect, then act further. If they are inactive or spend too much time alone, their motivation tends to decline. Some E-types who test as extroverts have an introverted need for time alone for reflection. These people tend to sit very close to the middle of the continuum, but if they sit on the E side, they will still obtain their energy in this way. In contrast, introverts obtain their energy from inside of themselves, and from time spent alone. Their flow is directed inward toward concepts and ideas. They are thought, not action-oriented. They seek depth, and not breadth of knowledge and influence. Extroverts prefer frequent interaction. Introverts prefer substantial interaction. Introverts reflect, then act, then reflect again in the opposite sequence to extroverts. Think of an extrovert as a mountain. If you look closely, you can see the whole thing. In contrast, an introvert is like an iceberg. The biggest part of it is submerged beyond your vision. 2. Sensing/intuition. Sensing or intuition skills are the information gathering functions. They describe how new information is understood and interpreted. Those closer to the sensor end trust the information their five senses understand. They like and trust facts that are certain and concrete. They take on new ideas only if they have some kind of practical application. They value realism and common sense. They like to use and hone well-established skills. They respond best to information presented in a logical, step-by-step manner. Those closer to the intuitive end trust inspiration and inference and understand abstract and theoretical concepts. They like new ideas and concepts just for their own sake. They value imagination and innovation. They like to learn new skills and get bored easily once they've mastered skills. They trust their own flashes of insight and look for meaning in how new information fits various patterns or theories. It should be becoming clear that people really do take in and understand information in very different ways. You can probably think of different friends or family members who fit one or other of these information gathering approaches. 3. Thinking/feeling. The thinking-feeling dimension is the way we make decisions and come to conclusions. Here, thinking means making decisions impersonally or logically based on facts. Feeling here isn't referring to making decisions based on emotions. Rather, it means basing decisions on things that are important or of value to the person as an individual. Remember, people who prefer thinking are not better thinkers, and people who prefer feeling are not better at dealing with their emotions. The issue is about how we reach decisions and the criteria we look at. The thinker uses a more detailed, objective approach, and the feeler looks at the things that matter to him or her when making the decision. 4. Judging/perceiving. This is about whether we prefer to live in a more structured way or a more spontaneous way. People with a preference for judging are not more judgmental. Rather, they prefer to live in a more orderly way and are happiest when their lives are structured and matters are settled. They like to make decisions and are very good at getting things done and completing things. People with a preference for perceiving like to live spontaneously and are happiest when their lives are flexible. They like to stay open to many options and seek to understand their life rather than control it. Obviously, most of us fall somewhere in between these two extremes, as with all the dimensions. Everyone uses both judging and perceiving in daily life, but each person will have a natural preference. Many of the upsets and misunderstandings between people in life boils down to a failure to understand how someone else perceives a situation and what their default reaction patterns are based on their dominant function. It's a fascinating insight into our many differences and the best ways we can resolve them. Chapter 2. Why you should discover your personality type. Now more than ever before, people love discovering more about their personality. The internet is full of various personality tests. From paid Myers-Briggs MBTI personality tests, to fun and frothy BuzzFeed personality quizzes, to our free personality quiz for iOS and Android that are backed by decades of research. No matter what type of personality test you prefer, self-discovery quizzes can help you learn more about yourself and show you how to live a better life. Here are a few of the many ways taking a personality test can help you. 1. Learn more about your personality on a deeper level. It's safe to say that you know yourself pretty well, your likes, dislikes, and other preferences. However, personality tests can help you dig deeper into your personality to get to the core of who you really are. For example, the Good.co self-discovery quiz goes one step further than traditional personality tests to help you truly explore your unique traits. We don't just tell you you're an introvert or extrovert, we can tell you what type of introvert you are. Yes, there are different kinds. 2. Gain insight into your communication style. Communication is something we all struggle with. A good, in-depth personality test can teach you more about your communication style and show you how to communicate better with others. For example, our personality test app can offer you specific customized tips on how to communicate better with others based on your personality test results. 3. Discover your true likes and dislikes. You already know that you hate lima beans and love cat videos, but do you know what type of work environment is best suited to your personality type? The knowledge gained from personality assessments can help you make more informed life decisions. 4. Gain self-confidence. Personality quizzes can be a great way to remind yourself of your strengths. This may sound a little cheesy, but you really can't help but feel a little bit of pride while reading through your personality test results. After all, they are a summary of everything that makes you awesome, unique, and one of a kind. 5. Improve your career. There are a few awesome paid and free career personality tests that can help you learn more about your personality type as it relates to your career. Career-focused assessments can help you discover what type of company culture is the best fit for your personality type, or they can help you discover career strengths and weaknesses and learn how to communicate better with others at work. Armed with this type of information, you can learn how to thrive in your career and find a job that's a perfect fit for you. 6. Improved happiness. As humans, we're constantly growing and evolving. Who you were as a person 10 years ago is likely much different than who you are today. Staying in touch with who we are at our very core can be difficult, especially in such a fast-paced world. When we lose touch with who we are at our very core, we become unhappy. Taking time for self-discovery can help us get back in touch with who we really are, allowing us to remain focused on what's most important in life. Chapter 3. The Duty Fulfiller. ISTJ. Introverted, thinking, sensing, judging. ISTJs are quiet and reserved individuals who are interested in security and peaceful living. They have a strongly felt internal sense of duty, which lends them a serious air and the motivation to follow through on tasks. Organized and methodical in their approach, they can generally succeed at any task which they undertake. ISTJs are very loyal, faithful, and dependable. They place great importance on honesty and integrity. They are good citizens who can be depended on to do the right thing for their families and communities. While they generally take things very seriously, they also usually have an offbeat sense of humor and can be a lot of fun, especially at family or work-related gatherings. ISTJs tend to believe in laws and traditions and expect the same from others. They're not comfortable with breaking laws or going against the rules. If they are able to see a good reason for stepping outside of the established mode of doing things, the ISTJ will support that effort. However, ISTJs more often tend to believe that things should be done according to procedures and plans. If an ISTJ has not developed their intuitive side sufficiently, they may become overly obsessed with structure and insist on doing everything by the book. The ISTJ is extremely dependable on following through with things which he or she has promised. For this reason, they sometimes get more and more work piled on them. Because the ISTJ has such a strong sense of duty, they may have a difficult time saying no when they are given more work than they can reasonably handle. For this reason, the ISTJ often works long hours and may be unwittingly taken advantage of. The ISTJ will work for long periods of time and put tremendous amounts of energy into doing any task which they see as important to fulfilling a goal. However, they will resist putting energy into things which don't make sense to them, or for which they can't see a practical application. They prefer to work alone, but work well in teams when the situation demands it. They like to be accountable for their actions and enjoy being in positions of authority. The ISTJ has little use for theory or abstract thinking unless the practical application is clear. ISTJs have tremendous respect for facts. They hold a tremendous store of facts within themselves which they have gathered through their sensing preference. They may have difficulty understanding a theory or idea which is different from their own perspective. However, if they are shown the importance or relevance of the idea to someone who they respect or care about, the idea becomes a fact, which the ISTJ will internalize and support. Once the ISTJ supports a cause or idea, he or she will stop at no lengths to ensure that they are doing their duty of giving support where support is needed. The ISTJ is not naturally in tune with their own feelings and the feelings of others. They may have difficulty picking up on emotional needs immediately as they are presented. Being perfectionists themselves, they have a tendency to take other people's efforts for granted, like they take their own efforts for granted. They need to remember to pat people on the back once in a while. ISTJs are likely to be uncomfortable expressing affection and emotion to others. However, their strong sense of duty and the ability to see what needs to be done in any situation usually allows them to overcome their natural reservations, and they are usually quite supporting and caring individuals with the people that they love. Once the ISTJ realizes the emotional needs of those who are close to them, they put forth effort to meet those needs. The ISTJ is extremely faithful and loyal. Traditional and family-minded, they will put forth great amounts of effort at making their homes and families running smoothly. They are responsible parents, taking their parenting role seriously. They are usually good and generous providers to their families. They care deeply about those close to them, although they usually are not comfortable with expressing their love. The ISTJ is likely to express their affection through actions rather than through words. ISTJs have an excellent ability to take any task and define it, organize it, plan it, and implement it through to completion. They are very hard workers who do not allow obstacles to get in the way of performing their duties. They do not usually give themselves enough credit for their achievements, seeing their accomplishments simply as the natural fulfillment of their obligations. ISTJs usually have a great sense of space and function, and artistic appreciation. Their homes are likely to be tastefully furnished and immaculately maintained. They are acutely aware of their senses and want to be in surroundings which fit their need for structure, order, and beauty. Under stress, ISTJs may fall into catastrophe mode, where they see nothing but all of the possibilities of what could go wrong. They will berate themselves for things which they should have done differently, or duties which they failed to perform. They will lose their ability to see things calmly and reasonably, and will depress themselves with their visions of doom. In general, the ISTJ has a tremendous amount of potential. Capable, logical, reasonable, and effective individuals with a deeply driven desire to promote security and peaceful living. The ISTJ has what it takes to be highly effective at achieving their chosen goals, whatever they may be. Chapter 4. The Mechanic, ISTP. Introverted, sensing, thinking, perceiving. ISTPs have a compelling drive to understand the way things work. They're good at logical analysis and like to use it on practical concerns. They typically have strong powers of reasoning, although they're not interested in theories or concepts unless they can see a practical application. They like to take things apart and see the way they work. ISTPs have an adventuresome spirit. They are attracted to motorcycles, airplanes, skydiving, surfing, etc. They thrive on action and are usually fearless. ISTPs are fiercely independent, needing to have the space to make their own decisions about their next step. They do not believe in or follow rules and regulations, as this would prohibit their ability to do their own thing. Their sense of adventure and desire for constant action makes ISTPs prone to becoming bored rather quickly. ISTPs are loyal to their causes and beliefs, and are firm believers that people should be treated with equality and fairness. Although they do not respect the rules of the system, they follow their own rules and guidelines for behavior faithfully. They will not take part in something which violates their personal laws. ISTPs are extremely loyal and faithful to their quote-unquote brothers. ISTPs like and need to spend time alone, because this is when they can sort things out in their minds most clearly. They absorb large quantities of impersonal facts from the external world, and sort through those facts, making judgments when they are alone. ISTPs are action-oriented people. They like to be up and about, doing things. They are not people to sit behind a desk all day and do long-range planning. Adaptable and spontaneous, they respond to what is immediately before them. They usually have strong technical skills and can be effective technical leaders. They focus on details and practical things. They have an excellent sense of expediency and grasp of the details, which enables them to make quick, effective decisions. ISTPs avoid making judgments based on personal values. They feel that judgments and decisions should be made impartially, based on the fact. They are not naturally tuned into how they are affecting others. They do not pay attention to their own feelings and even distrust them and try to ignore them, because they have difficulty distinguishing between emotional reactions and value judgments. This may be a problem area for many ISTPs. An ISTP who is overstressed may exhibit rash, emotional outbursts of anger, or on the other extreme may be overwhelmed by emotions and feelings which they feel compelled to share with people, often inappropriately. An ISTP who is down on themselves will foray into the world of value judgments, a place which is not natural for the ISTP, and judge themselves by their inability to perform some task. They will then approach the task in a grim, emotional state, expecting the worst. ISTPs are excellent in crisis situations. They're usually good athletes and have very good hand-eye coordination. They are good at following through with a project and tying up loose ends. They usually don't have much trouble with school because they are introverts who can think logically. They are usually patient individuals, although they may be prone to occasional emotional outbursts due to their inattention to their own feelings. ISTPs have a lot of natural ability, which makes them good at many different kinds of things. However, they are happiest when they are centered in action-oriented tasks, which require detailed logical analysis and technical skill. They take pride in their ability to take the next correct step. ISTPs are optimistic, full of good cheer, loyal to their equals, uncomplicated in their desires, generous, trusting, and receptive people who want no part in confining commitments. Chapter 5. The Nurturer, ISFJ. Introverted, sensing, feeling, judging. ISFJs live in a world that is concrete and kind. They are truly warm and kind-hearted, and want to believe the best of people. They value harmony and cooperation, and are likely to be very sensitive to other people's feelings. People value the ISFJ for their consideration and awareness, and their ability to bring out the best in others by their firm desire to believe the best. ISFJs have a rich inner world that is not usually obvious to observers. They constantly take in information about people and situations that is personally important to them and store it away. This tremendous store of information is usually startlingly accurate because the ISFJ has an exceptional memory about things that are important to their value systems. It would not be uncommon for the ISFJ to remember a particular facial expression or conversation in precise detail years after the event occurred, if the situation made an impression on the ISFJ. ISFJs have a very clear idea of the way things should be, which they strive to attain. They value security and kindness, and respect traditions and laws. They tend to believe that existing systems are there because they work. Therefore, they're not likely to buy into doing things in a new way, unless they're shown in a concrete way why it's better than the established method. ISFJs learn best by doing, rather than by reading about something in a book or applying theory. For this reason, they are not likely to be found in fields which require a lot of conceptual analysis or theory. They value practical application. Traditional methods of higher education, which require a lot of theorizing and abstraction, are likely to be a chore for the ISFJ. The ISFJ learns a task best by being shown its practical application. Once the task is learned and its practical importance is understood, the ISFJ will faithfully and tirelessly carry through the task to completion. The ISFJ is extremely dependable. The ISFJ has an extremely well-developed sense of space, function, and aesthetic appeal. For that reason, they're likely to have beautifully furnished, functional homes. They make extremely good interior decorators. This special ability, combined with their sensitivity to others' feelings and desires, makes them very likely to be great gift givers, finding the right gift which will be truly appreciated by the recipient. More so than other types, ISFJs are extremely aware of their own internal feelings as well as other people's feelings. They do not usually express their own feelings, keeping things inside. If they are negative feelings, they may build up inside the ISFJ until they turn into firm judgments against individuals which are difficult to unseat once set. Many ISFJs learn to express themselves and find outlets for their powerful emotions. Just as the ISFJ is not likely to express their feelings, they are also not likely to let on that they know how others are feeling. However, they will speak up when they feel another individual really needs help, and in such cases they can truly help others become aware of their feelings. The ISFJ feels a strong sense of responsibility and duty. They take their responsibilities very seriously and can be counted on to follow through. For this reason, people naturally tend to rely on them. The ISFJ has a difficult time saying no when asked to do something and may become overburdened. In such cases, the ISFJ does not usually express their difficulties to others, because they intensely dislike conflict and because they tend to place other people's needs over their own. The ISFJ needs to learn to identify, value, and express their own needs, if they wish to avoid becoming overworked and taken for granted. ISFJs need positive feedback from others. In the absence of positive feedback or in the face of criticism, the ISFJ gets discouraged and may even become depressed. When down on themselves or under great stress, the ISFJ begins to imagine all the things that might go critically wrong in their life. They have strong feelings of inadequacy and become convinced that everything is all wrong or I can't do anything right. The ISFJ is warm, generous, and dependable. They have many special gifts to offer in their sensitivity to others, and their strong ability to keep things running smoothly. They need to remember to not be overly critical of themselves and to give themselves some of the warmth and love which they freely dispense to others. Chapter 6. The Artist. ISFP. Introverted, sensing, feeling, perceiving. ISFPs live in the world of sensation possibilities. They are keenly in tune with the way things look, taste, sound, feel, and smell. They have a strong aesthetic appreciation for art and are likely to be artists in some form because they are unusually gifted at creating and composing things which will strongly affect the senses. They have a strong set of values which they strive to consistently meet in their lives. They need to feel as if they are living their lives in accordance with what they feel is right, and will rebel against anything which conflicts with that goal. They are likely to choose jobs and careers which allow them the freedom of working towards the realization of their value-oriented personal goals. The primary mode of living is focused internally, where you deal with things according to how you feel about them or how they fit into your value system. Your secondary mode is external, where you take things in via your five senses in a literal, concrete fashion. ISFPs tend to be quiet and reserved and difficult to get to know well. They hold back their ideas and opinions except from those who they are closest to. They are likely to be kind, gentle, and sensitive in their dealings with others. They are interested in contributing to people's sense of well-being and happiness, and will put a great deal of effort and energy into tasks which they believe in. ISFPs have a strong affinity for aesthetics and beauty. They are likely to be animal lovers and to have a true appreciation for the beauties of nature. They are original and independent and need to have personal space. They value people who take the time to understand the ISFP and who support the ISFP in pursuing their goals in their own unique way. People who don't know them well may see their unique way of life as a sign of carefree lightheartedness, but the ISFP actually takes life very seriously, constantly gathering specific information and shifting it through their value systems in search for clarification and underlying meaning. ISFPs are action-oriented individuals. They are doers and are usually uncomfortable with theorizing concepts and ideas unless they see a practical application. They learn best in a hands-on environment, and consequently may become easily bored with the traditional teaching methods which emphasize abstract thinking. They do not like impersonal analysis and are uncomfortable with the idea of making decisions based strictly on logic. Their strong value systems demand that decisions are evaluated against their subjective beliefs rather than against some objective rules or laws. ISFPs are extremely perceptive and aware of others. They constantly gather specific information about people and seek to discover what it means. They are usually penetratingly accurate in their perceptions of others. ISFPs are warm and sympathetic. They genuinely care about people and are strongly service-oriented in their desire to please. They have an unusually deep well of caring for those who are close to them and are likely to show their love through actions rather than words. ISFPs have no desire to lead or control others, just as they have no desire to be led or controlled by others. They need space and time alone to evaluate the circumstances of their life against their value system, and are likely to respect other people's needs for the same. The ISFP is likely to not give themselves enough credit for the things which they do extremely well. Their strong value systems can lead them to be intensely perfectionist and cause them to judge themselves with unnecessary harshness. The ISFP has many special gifts for the world, especially in the areas of creating artistic sensation and selflessly serving others. Life is not likely to be extremely easy for the ISFP because they take life so seriously, but they have the tools to make their lives and the lives of those close to them richly rewarding experiences. Chapter 7. The Protector, INFJ. Introverted, intuitive, feeling, judging. INFJs are gentle, caring, complex, and highly intuitive individuals. Artistic and creative, they live in a world of hidden meanings and possibilities. Only 1% of the population has an INFJ personality type, making it the rarest of all the types. INFJs place great importance on having things orderly and systematic in their outer world. They put a lot of energy into identifying the best system for getting things done, and constantly define and redefine the priorities in their lives. On the other hand, INFJs operate within themselves on an intuitive basis, which is entirely spontaneous. They know things intuitively without being able to pinpoint why, and without detailed knowledge of the subject at hand. They are usually right, and they usually know it. Consequently, INFJs put a tremendous amount of faith into their instincts and intuitions. This is something of a conflict between the inner and outer worlds, and may result in the INFJ not being as organized as other judging types tend to be. Or we may see some signs of disarray in an otherwise orderly tendency, such as a consistently messy desk. INFJs have uncanny insight into people and situations. They get feelings about things and intuitively understand them. As an extreme example, some INFJs report experiences of a psychic nature, such as getting strong feelings about there being a problem with a loved one, and discovering later that they were in a car accident. This is the sort of thing that other types may scorn and scoff at, and the INFJ themselves does not really understand their intuition at a level which can be verbalized. Consequently, most INFJs are protective of their inner selves, sharing only what they choose to share when they choose to share it. They are deep, complex individuals who are quite private and typically difficult to understand. INFJs hold back part of themselves and can be secretive. But the INFJ is as genuinely warm as they are complex. INFJs hold a special place in the heart of people who they are close to, who are able to see their special gifts and depth of caring. INFJs are concerned for people's feelings and try to be gentle to avoid hurting anyone. They are very sensitive to conflict and cannot tolerate it very well. Situations which are charged with conflict may drive the normally peaceful INFJ into a state of agitation or charged anger. They may tend to internalize conflict into their bodies and experience health problems when under a lot of stress. Because the INFJ has such strong intuitive capabilities, they trust their own instincts above all else. This may result in an INFJ stubbornness and tendency to ignore other people's opinions. They believe that they're right. On the other hand, INFJ is a perfectionist who doubts that they are living up to their full potential. INFJs are rarely at complete peace with themselves. There's always something else they should be doing to improve themselves and the world around them. They believe in constant growth, and don't often take time to revel in their accomplishments. They have strong value systems, and need to live their lives in accordance with what they feel is right. In deference to the feeling aspect of their personalities, INFJs are in some ways gentle and easygoing. Conversely, they have very high expectations of themselves and frequently of their families. They don't believe in compromising their ideals. INFJ is a natural nurturer, patient, devoted, and protective. They make loving parents and usually have strong bonds with their offspring. They have high expectations of their children and push them to be the best that they can be. This can sometimes manifest itself in the INFJ being hard-nosed and stubborn, but generally children of an INFJ get devoted and sincere parental guidance combined with deep caring. In the workplace, the INFJ usually shows up in areas where they can be creative and somewhat independent. They have a natural affinity for art, and many excel in the sciences where they make use of their intuition. INFJs can also be found in service-oriented professions. They are not good at dealing with minutiae or very detailed tasks. The INFJ will either avoid such things or else go to the other extreme and become enveloped in the details to the extent that they can no longer see the big picture. An INFJ who has gone the route of becoming meticulous about details may be highly critical of other individuals who are not. The INFJ individual is gifted in ways that other types are not. Life is not necessarily easy for the INFJ, but they are capable of great depth of feeling and personal achievement. Chapter 8. The Scientist. INTJ. Introverted, intuitive, thinking, judging. INTJs live in the world of ideas and strategic planning. They value intelligence, knowledge, and competence, and typically have high standards in these regards, which they continuously strive to fulfill. To a somewhat lesser extent, they have similar expectations of others. With introverted intuition dominating their personality, INTJs focus their energy on observing the world and generating ideas and possibilities. Their mind constantly gathers information and makes associations about it. They are tremendously insightful and usually are very quick to understand new ideas. However, their primary interest is not understanding a concept, but rather applying that concept in a useful way. Unlike the INTP, they do not follow an idea as far as they possibly can, seeking only to understand it fully. INTJs are driven to come to conclusions about ideas. Their need for closure and organization usually requires that they take some action. INTJs' tremendous value and need for systems and organization, combined with their natural insightfulness, makes them excellent scientists. An INTJ scientist gives a gift to society by putting their ideas into a useful form for others to follow. It is not easy for the INTJ to express their internal images, insights, and abstractions. The internal form of the INTJ's thoughts and concepts is highly individualized and is not readily translatable into a form that others will understand. However, the INTJ is driven to translate their ideas into a plan or system that is usually readily explainable, rather than to do a direct translation of their thoughts. They usually don't see the value of a direct transaction and will also have difficulty expressing their ideas, which are non-linear. However, their extreme respect of knowledge and intelligence will motivate them to explain themselves to another person who they feel is deserving of the effort. INTJs are natural leaders, although they usually choose to remain in the background until they see a real need to take over the lead. When they are in leadership roles, they are quite effective because they are able to objectively see the reality of a situation and are adaptable enough to change things which aren't working well. They are the supreme strategists, always scanning available ideas and concepts and weighing them against their current strategy to plan for every conceivable contingency. INTJs spend a lot of time inside their own minds and may have little interest in the other people's thoughts or feelings. Unless their feeling side is developed, they may have problems giving other people the level of intimacy that is needed. Unless their sensing side is developed, they may have a tendency to ignore details which are necessary for implementing their ideas. The INTJ's interest in dealing with the world is to make decisions, express judgments, and put everything that they encounter into an understandable and rational system. Consequently, they are quick to express judgments. Often, they have very evolved intuitions and are convinced that they are right about things. Unless they complement their intuitive understanding with a well-developed ability to express their insights, they may find themselves frequently misunderstood. In these cases, INTJs tend to blame misunderstandings on the limitations of the other party, rather than on their own difficulty in expressing themselves. This tendency may cause the INTJ to dismiss others' input too quickly and to become generally arrogant and elitist. INTJs are ambitious, self-confident, deliberate, long-range thinkers. Many INTJs end up in engineering or scientific pursuits, although some find enough challenge within the business world in areas which involve organizing and strategic planning. They dislike messiness and inefficiency and anything that is muddled or unclear. They value clarity and efficiency and will put enormous amounts of energy and time into consolidating their insights into structured patterns. Other people may have a difficult time understanding an INTJ. They may see them as aloof and reserved. Indeed, the INTJ is not overly demonstrative of their affections and is likely to not give as much praise or positive support as others may need or desire. That doesn't mean that he or she doesn't truly have affection or regard for others, they simply do not typically feel the need to express it. Others may falsely perceive the INTJ as being rigid and set in their ways. Nothing could be further from the truth, because the INTJ is committed to always finding the objective best strategy to implement their ideas. The INTJ is usually quite open to hearing an alternative way of doing something. When under a great deal of stress, the INTJ may become obsessed with mindless, repetitive, sensate activities such as overdrinking. They may also tend to become absorbed with minutiae and details that they would not normally consider important to their overall goal. INTJs need to remember to express themselves sufficiently so as to avoid difficulties with people misunderstandings. In the absence of properly developing their communication abilities, they may become abrupt and short with people and isolationists. INTJs have a tremendous amount of ability to accomplish great things. They have insight into the big picture and are driven to synthesize their concepts into solid plans of action. Their reasoning skills gives them the means to accomplish that. INTJs are most always highly competent people and will not have a problem meeting their career or education goals. They have the capability to make great strides in these areas. On a personal level, the INTJ who practices tolerances and puts effort into effectively communicating their insights to others has everything in his or her power to lead a rich and rewarding life. Chapter 9. The Thinker, INTP. Introverted, intuitive, thinking, perceiving. INTPs live in the world of theoretical possibilities. They see everything in terms of how it could be improved or what it could be turned into. They live primarily inside their own minds, having the ability to analyze difficult problems, identify patterns, and come up with logical explanations. They seek clarity in everything and are therefore driven to build knowledge. They are the absent-minded professors who highly value intelligence and the ability to apply logic to theories to find solutions. They typically are so strongly driven to turn problems into logical explanations that they live much of their lives within their own heads and may not place as much importance or value on the external world. Their natural drive to turn theories into concrete understanding may turn into a feeling of personal responsibility to solve theoretical problems and help society move towards a higher understanding. INTPs value knowledge above all else. Their minds are constantly working to generate new theories, or to prove or disprove existing theories. They approach problems and theories with enthusiasm and skepticism, ignoring existing rules and opinions and defining their own approach to the resolution. They seek patterns and logical explanations for anything that interests them. They're usually extremely bright and able to be objectively critical in their analysis. They love new ideas and become very excited over abstractions and theories. They love to discuss these concepts with others. They may seem dreamy and distant to others because they spend a lot of time inside their minds musing over theories. They hate to work on routine things. They would much prefer to build complex theoretical solutions and leave the implementation of the system to others. They are intensely interested in theory and will put forth tremendous amounts of time and energy into finding a solution to a problem which has piqued their interest. INTPs do not like to lead or control people. They're very tolerant and flexible in most situations, unless one of their firmly held beliefs has been violated or challenged, in which case they may take a very rigid stance. The INTP is likely to be very shy when it comes to meeting new people. On the other hand, the INTP is very self-confident and gregarious around people they know well, or when discussing theories which they fully understand. The INTP has no understanding or value for decisions made on the basis of personal subjectivity or feelings. They strive constantly to achieve logical conclusions to problems, and don't understand the importance or relevance of applying subjective emotional considerations to decisions. For this reason, INTPs are usually not in tune with how people are feeling, and are not naturally well equipped to meet the emotional needs of others. The INTP may have a problem with self-aggrandizement and social rebellion, which will interfere with their creative potential. Since their feeling side is their least developed trait, the INTP may have difficulty giving the warmth and support that is sometimes necessary in intimate relationships. If the INTP doesn't realize the value of attending to other people's feelings, he or she may become overly critical and sarcastic with others. If the INTP is not able to find a place for themselves which supports the use of their strongest abilities, they may become generally negative and cynical. If the INTP has not developed their sensing side sufficiently, they may become unaware of their environment and exhibit weakness in performing maintenance-type tasks, such as bill paying and dressing appropriately. For the INTP, it is extremely important that ideas and facts are expressed correctly and succinctly. They are likely to express themselves in what they believe to be absolute truths. Sometimes their well thought out understanding of an idea is not easily understandable by others, but the INTP is not naturally likely to tailor the truth so as to explain it in an understandable way to others. The INTP may be prone to abandoning a project once they have figured it out, moving on to the next thing. It's important that the INTP place importance on expressing their developed theories in understandable ways. In the end, an amazing discovery means nothing if you are the only person who understands it. The INTP is usually very independent, unconventional, and original. They are not likely to place much value on traditional goals such as popularity and security. They usually have complex characters, and may tend to be restless and temperamental. They are strongly ingenious and have unconventional thought patterns which allow them to analyze ideas in new ways. Consequently, a lot of scientific breakthroughs in the world have been made by the INTP. The INTP is at his best when he can work on his theories independently. When given an environment which supports his creative genius and possible eccentricity, the INTP can accomplish truly remarkable things. These are the pioneers of new thoughts in our society. Chapter 10. The Doer, ESTP. Extroverted, sensing, thinking, perceiving. ESTPs are outgoing, straight-shooting types. Enthusiastic and excitable, ESTPs are doers who live in the world of action. Blunt, straightforward risk-takers, they are willing to plunge right into things and get their hands dirty. They live in the here and now and place little importance on introspection or theory. They look at the facts of a situation, quickly decide what should be done, execute the action, and move on to the next thing. ESTPs have an uncanny ability to perceive people's attitudes and motivations. They pick up on little cues which go completely unnoticed by most other types, such as facial expressions and stance. They're typically a couple of steps ahead of the person they're interacting with. ESTPs use this ability to get what they want out of a situation. Rules and laws are seen as guidelines for behavior rather than mandates. If the ESTP has decided that something needs to be done, then their do it and get on with it attitude takes precedence over the rules. However, the ESTP tends to have their own strong belief in what's right and what's wrong, and will doggedly stick to their principles. The rules of the establishment may hold little value to the ESTP, but their own integrity mandates that they will not, under any circumstances, do something which they feel to be wrong. ESTPs have a strong flair for drama and style. They're fast-moving, fast-talking people who have an appreciation for the finer things in life. They may be gamblers or spendthrifts. They're usually very good at storytelling and improvising. They typically make things up as they go along, rather than following a plan. They love to have fun, and are fun people to be around. They can sometimes be hurtful to others without being aware of it, as they generally do not know and may not care about the effect their words have on others. It's not that they don't care about people, it's that their decision-making process does not involve taking people's feelings into account. They make decisions based on facts and logic. ESTP's least developed area is their intuitive side. They are impatient with theory and see little use for it in their quest to get things done. An ESTP will occasionally have strong intuitions which are often way off base, but sometimes very lucid and positive. The ESTP does not trust their instinct and is suspicious of other people's intuition as well. The ESTP often has trouble in school, especially higher education, which moves into realms where theory is more important. The ESTP gets bored with classes in which they feel they gain no useful material which can be used to get things done. The ESTP may be brilliantly intelligent, but school will be a difficult chore for them. The ESTP needs to keep moving, and so does well in careers where he or she is not restricted or confined. ESTPs make extremely good salespersons. They will become stifled and unhappy dealing with routine chores. ESTPs have a natural abundance of energy and enthusiasm, which makes them natural entrepreneurs. They get very excited about things and have the ability to motivate others to excitement and action. They can sell anyone on any idea. They are action-oriented and make decisions quickly. All in all, they have extraordinary talents for getting things started. They are not usually so good at following through and might leave those tasks to others. Mastering the art of following through is something which ESTPs should pay special attention to. ESTPs are practical, observant, fun-loving, spontaneous risk-takers with an excellent ability to quickly improvise an innovative solution to a problem. They're enthusiastic and fun to be with, and are great motivators. If an ESTP recognizes their real talents and operates within those realms, they can accomplish truly exciting things. Chapter 11. The Performer. ESFP. Extroverted, sensing, feeling, perceiving. ESFPs live in the world of people possibilities. They love people and new experiences. They are lively and fun and enjoy being the center of attention. They live in the here and now and relish excitement and drama in their lives. ESFPs have very strong interpersonal skills and may find themselves in the role of the peacemaker frequently. Since they make decisions by using their personal values, they are usually very sympathetic and concerned for other people's well-being. They're usually quite generous and warm. They are very observant about other people and seem to sense what is wrong with someone before others might, responding warmly with a solution to a practical need. They might not be the best advice givers in the world because they dislike theory and future planning, but they are great for giving practical care. ESFP is definitely a spontaneous, optimistic individual. They love to have fun. If the ESFP has not developed their thinking side by giving consideration to rational thought processing, they tend to become overindulgent and place more importance on immediate sensation and gratification than on their duties and obligations. They may also avoid looking at long-term consequences of their actions. For the ESFP, the entire world is a stage. They love to be the center of attention and perform for the people. They're constantly putting on a show for others to entertain them and make them happy. They enjoy stimulating other people's senses and are extremely good at it. They would love nothing more than for life to be a continual party in which they play the role of the fun-loving host. ESFPs love people, and everybody loves an ESFP. One of their greatest gifts is their general acceptance of everyone. They are upbeat and enthusiastic and genuinely like almost everybody. An ESFP is unfailingly warm and generous with their friends, and they generally treat everyone as a friend. However, once crossed, an ESFP is likely to make a very strong and stubborn judgment against the person who crossed them. They are capable of deep dislike in such a situation. The ESFP, under a great deal of stress, gets overwhelmed with negative thoughts and possibilities. As an optimistic individual who lives in the world of possibilities, negative possibilities do not sit well with them. In an effort to combat these thoughts, they're likely to come up with simple, global statements to explain away the problem. These simplistic explanations may or may not truly get to the nature of the issue, but they serve the ESFP well by allowing them to get over it. ESFPs are likely to be very practical, although they hate structure and routine. They like to go with the flow, trusting in their ability to improvise in any situation presented to them. They learn best with hands-on experience rather than by studying a book. They're uncomfortable with theory. If an ESFP hasn't developed their intuitive side, they may tend to avoid situations which involve a lot of theoretical thinking, or which are complex and ambiguous. For this reason, an ESFP may have difficulty in school. On the other hand, the ESFP does extremely well in situations where they're allowed to learn by interacting with others, or in which they learn by doing. ESFPs have a very well-developed appreciation for aesthetic beauty and an excellent sense of space and function. If they have the means, they're likely to have many beautiful possessions and an artfully furnished home. In general, they take great pleasure in objects of aesthetic beauty. They're likely to have a strong appreciation for the finer things in life, such as good food and good wine. The ESFP is a great team player. He or she is not likely to create any problems or fuss, and is likely to create the most fun environment possible for getting the task done. ESFPs will do best in careers in which they are able to use their excellent people skills, along with their abilities to meld ideas into structured formats. Since they are fast-paced individuals who like new experiences, they should choose careers which offer or require a lot of diversity as well as people skills. ESFPs usually like to feel strongly bonded with other people and have a connection with animals and small children that is not found in most other types. They're likely to have a strong appreciation for the beauties of nature as well. The ESFP has a tremendous love for life and knows how to have fun. They like to bring others along on their fun rides and are typically a lot of fun to be with. They're flexible, adaptable, genuinely interested in people, and usually kind-hearted. They have a special ability to get a lot of fun out of life, but they need to watch out for the pitfalls associated with living entirely in the moment. Chapter 12. The Giver, ENFJ. Extroverted, intuitive, feeling, judging. ENFJs are people-focused individuals. They live in the world of people possibilities. More so than any other type, they have excellent people skills. They understand and care about people, and have a special talent for bringing out the best in others. ENFJ's main interest in life is giving love, support, and a good time to other people. They are focused on understanding, supporting, and encouraging others. They make things happen for people and get their best personal satisfaction from this. Because ENFJ's people skills are so extraordinary, they have the ability to make people do exactly what they want them to do. They get under people's skins and get the reactions that they are seeking. ENFJ's motives are usually unselfish, but ENFJs who have developed less than ideally have been known to use their power over people to manipulate them. ENFJs are so externally focused that it's especially important for them to spend time alone. This can be difficult for some ENFJs because they have the tendency to be hard on themselves and turn to dark thoughts when alone. Consequently, ENFJs might avoid being alone and fill their lives with activities involving other people. ENFJs tend to define their life's direction and priorities according to other people's needs, and may not be aware of their own needs. It's natural to their personality type that they will tend to place other people's needs above their own, but they need to stay aware of their own needs so they don't sacrifice themselves in their drive to help others. ENFJs tend to be more reserved about exposing themselves than other extroverted types. Although they may have strongly felt beliefs, they're likely to refrain from expressing them if doing so would interfere with bringing out the best in others. Because their strongest interest lies in being a catalyst of change in other people, they're likely to interact with others on their own level in a chameleon-like manner, rather than as individuals. Which is not to say that the ENFJ does not have opinions. ENFJs have definite values and opinions which they're able to express clearly and succinctly. These beliefs will be expressed as long as they're not too personal. ENFJ is in many ways expressive and open, but is more focused on being responsive and supportive of others. When faced with a conflict between a strongly held value and serving another person's need, they are highly likely to value the other person's needs. The ENFJ may feel quite lonely even when surrounded by people. This feeling of aloneness may be exacerbated by the tendency to not reveal their true selves. People love ENFJs. They are fun to be with and truly understand and love people. They are typically very straightforward and honest. Usually, ENFJs exude a lot of self-confidence and have a great amount of ability to do many different things. They are generally bright, full of potential, energetic, and fast-paced. They are usually good at anything which captures their interest. ENFJs like for things to be well organized and will work hard at maintaining structure and resolving ambiguity. They have a tendency to be fussy, especially with their home environments. In the workplace, ENFJs do well in positions where they deal with people. They are naturals for the social committee. Their uncanny ability to understand people and say just what needs to be said to make them happy makes them naturals for counseling. They enjoy being the center of attention and do very well in situations where they can inspire and lead others, such as teaching. ENFJs do not like dealing with impersonal reasoning. They don't understand or appreciate its merit and will be unhappy in situations where they're forced to deal with logic and facts without any connection to a human element. Living in the world of people possibilities, they enjoy their plans more than their achievements. They get excited about possibilities for the future, but may become easily bored and restless with the present. ENFJs have a special gift with people, and are basically happy people when they can use that gift to help others. They get their best satisfaction from serving others. Their genuine interest in humankind and their exceptional intuitive awareness of people makes them able to draw out even the most reserved individuals. ENFJs have a strong need for close, intimate relationships and will put forth a lot of effort in creating and maintaining these relationships. They're very loyal and trustworthy once involved in a relationship. An ENFJ who has not developed their feeling side may have difficulty making good decisions, and may rely heavily on other people in decision-making processes. If they have not developed their intuition, they may not be able to see possibilities, and will judge things too quickly based on established value systems or social rules, without really understanding the current situation. An ENFJ who has not found their place in the world is likely to be extremely sensitive to criticism, and to have the tendency to worry excessively and feel guilty. They are also likely to be very manipulative and controlling with others. In general, ENFJs are charming, warm, gracious, creative, and diverse individuals with richly developed insights into what makes other people tick. This special ability to see growth potential in others combined with a genuine drive to help people makes the ENFJ a truly valued individual. As giving and caring as the ENFJ is, they need to remember to value their own needs, as well as the needs of others. Chapter 13. The Visionary. ENTP. Extroverted, intuitive, thinking, perceiving. With extroverted intuition dominating their personality, the ENTP's primary interest in life is understanding the world that they live in. They are constantly absorbing ideas and images about the situations they are presented in their lives. Using their intuition to process this information, they are usually extremely quick and accurate in their ability to size up a situation. With the exception of their ENFP cousin, the ENTP has a deeper understanding of their environment than any of the other types. This ability to intuitively understand people and situations puts the ENTP at a distinct advantage in their lives. They generally understand things quickly and with great depth. Accordingly, they are quite flexible and adapt well to a wide range of tasks. They are good at most anything that interests them. As they grow and further develop their intuitive abilities and insights, they become very aware of possibilities, and this makes them quite resourceful when solving problems. ENTPs are idea people. Their perceptive abilities cause them to see possibilities everywhere. They get excited and enthusiastic about their ideas, and are able to spread their enthusiasm to others. In this way, they get the support that they need to fulfill their visions. ENTPs are less interested in developing plans of actions or making decisions than they are in generating possibilities and ideas. Following through on the implementation of an idea is usually a chore to the ENTP. For some ENTPs, this results in the habit of never finishing what they start. The ENTP who has not developed their thinking process will have problems with jumping enthusiastically from idea to idea without following through on their plans. The ENTP needs to take care to think through their ideas fully in order to take advantage of them. The ENTP's auxiliary process of introverted thinking drives their decision-making process. Although the ENTP is more interested in absorbing information than in making decisions, they are quite rational and logical in reaching conclusions. When they apply thinking to their intuitive perceptions, the outcome can be very powerful indeed. A well-developed ENTP is extremely visionary, inventive, and enterprising. ENTPs are fluent conversationalists, mentally quick, and enjoy verbal sparring with others. They love to debate issues and may even switch sides sometimes just for the love of the debate. When they express their underlying principles, however, they may feel awkward and speak abruptly and intensely. The ENTP personality type is sometimes referred to the lawyer type. The ENTP lawyer quickly and accurately understands a situation and objectively and logically acts upon the situation. Their thinking side makes their actions and decisions based on an objective list of rules or laws. If the ENTP was defending someone who had actually committed a crime, they are likely to take advantage of quirks in the law that will get their client off the hook. If they were to actually win the case, they would see their actions as completely fair and proper to the situation because their actions were lawful. The guilt or innocence of their client would not be as relevant. If this type of reasoning goes on completely unchecked by the ENTP, it could result in a character that is perceived by others as unethical or even dishonest. The ENTP who does not naturally consider the more personal or human element in decision-making should take care to notice the subjective, personal side of situations. This is a potential problem for ENTPs. Although their logical abilities lend strength and purpose to the ENTP, they may also isolate them from their feelings and from other people. The least developed area for the ENTP is the sensing-feeling arena. If the sensing areas are neglected, the ENTP may tend to not take care of details in their life. If the feeling part of themselves is neglected, the ENTP may not value other people's input enough or may become overly harsh and aggressive. Under stress, the ENTP may lose their ability to generate possibilities and become obsessed with minor details. These details may seem to be extremely important to the ENTP, but in reality are usually not important to the big picture. In general, ENTPs are upbeat visionaries. They highly value knowledge and spend much of their lives seeking a higher understanding. They live in the world of possibilities and become excited about concepts, challenges, and difficulties. When presented with a problem, they're good at improvising and quickly come up with a creative solution. Creative, clever, curious, and theoretical, ENTPs have a broad range of possibilities in their lives. Chapter 14. The Executive, ENTJ. Extroverted, intuitive, thinking, judging. ENTJs are natural-born leaders. They live in a world of possibilities where they see all sorts of challenges to be surmounted, and they want to be the ones responsible for surmounting them. They have a drive for leadership which is well served by their quickness to grasp complexities, their ability to absorb a large amount of impersonal information, and their quick and decisive judgments. They are take-charge people. ENTJs are very career-focused and fit into the corporate world quite naturally. They are constantly scanning their environment for potential problems which they can turn into solutions. They generally see things from a long-range perspective and are usually successful at identifying plans to turn problems around, especially problems of a corporate nature. ENTJs are usually successful in the business world because they are so driven to leadership. They're tireless in their efforts on the job and driven to visualize where an organization is headed. For these reasons, they are natural corporate leaders. There is not much room for error in the world of the ENTJ. They dislike to see mistakes repeated and have no patience with inefficiency. They may become quite harsh when their patience is tried in these respects. because they are not naturally tuned into people's feelings and more than likely don't believe that they should tailor their judgments in consideration for people's feelings. ENTJs, like many types, have difficulty seeing things from outside their own perspective. Unlike other types, ENTJs naturally have little patience with people who do not see things the same way as the ENTJ. The ENTJ needs to consciously work on recognizing the value of other people's opinions, as well as the value of being sensitive towards people's feelings. In the absence of this awareness, the ENTJ will be a forceful, intimidating, and overbearing individual. This may be a real problem for the ENTJ, who may be deprived of important information and collaboration from others. In their personal world, it can make some ENTJs overbearing as spouses or parents. The ENTJ has a tremendous amount of personal power and presence which will work for them as a force towards achieving their goals. However, this personal power is also an agent of alienation and self-aggrandizement, which the ENTJ would do well to avoid. ENTJs are very forceful, decisive individuals. They make decisions quickly and are quick to verbalize their opinions and decisions to the rest of the world. The ENTJ who has not developed their intuition will make decisions too hastily without understanding all of the issues and possible solutions. On the other hand, an ENTJ who has not developed their thinking side will have difficulty applying logic to their insights and will often make poor decisions. In that case, they may have brilliant ideas and insight into situations, but they may have little skill at determining how to act upon their understanding, or their actions may be inconsistent. An ENTJ who has developed in a generally less than ideal way may become dictatorial and abrasive, intrusively giving orders and direction without a sound reason for doing so, and without consideration for the people involved. Although ENTJs are not naturally tuned into other people's feelings, these individuals frequently have very strong sentimental streaks. Often, these sentiments are very powerful to the ENTJ, although they will likely hide it from general knowledge, believing the feelings to be a weakness. Because the world of feelings and values is not where the ENTJ naturally functions, they may sometimes make value judgments and hold on to submerged emotions which are ill-founded and inappropriate, and will cause them problems, sometimes rather serious problems. ENTJs love to interact with people. As extroverts, they're energized and stimulated primarily externally. There's nothing more enjoyable and satisfying to the ENTJ than having a lively, challenging conversation. They especially respect people who are able to stand up to the ENTJ and argue persuasively for their point of view. There aren't too many people who will do so, however, because the ENTJ is a very forceful and dynamic presence who has a tremendous amount of self-confidence and excellent verbal communication skills. Even the most confident individuals may experience moments of self-doubt when debating a point with an ENTJ. ENTJs want their home to be beautiful, well-furnished, and efficiently run. They're likely to place much emphasis on their children being well-educated and structured, to desire a congenial and devoted relationship with their spouse. At home, the ENTJ needs to be in charge as much as he or she does in their career. The ENTJ is likely best paired with someone who has a strong self-image, who is also a thinking type. Because the ENTJ is primarily focused on their careers, some ENTJs have a problem with being constantly absent from home, physically or mentally. The ENTJ has many gifts which make it possible for them to have a great deal of personal power, if they don't forget to remain balanced in their lives. They are assertive, innovative, long-range thinkers with an excellent ability to translate theories and possibilities into solid plans of action. They are usually tremendously forceful personalities and have the tools to accomplish whatever goals they set out for. Chapter 15. The Idealist. INFP. Introverted, intuitive, feeling, perceiving. INFPs, more than other intuitive feeling types, are focused on making the world a better place for people. Their primary goal is to find out their meaning in life. What is their purpose? How can they best serve humanity in their lives? They are idealists and perfectionists who drive themselves hard in their quest for achieving the goals they have identified for themselves. INFPs are highly intuitive about people. They rely heavily on their intuitions to guide them and use their discoveries to constantly search for value in life. They are on a continuous mission to find the truth and meaning underlying things. Every encounter and every piece of knowledge gained gets sifted through the INFP's value system and is evaluated to see if it has any potential to help the INFP define or refine their own path in life. The goal at the end of the path is always the same. The INFP is driven to help people and make the world a better place. Generally thoughtful and considerate, INFPs are good listeners and put people at ease. Although they may be reserved in expressing emotion, they have a very deep well of caring and are genuinely interested in understanding people. This sincerity is sensed by others, making the INFP a valued friend and confidant. An INFP can be quite warm with people he or she knows well. INFPs do not like conflict and go to great lengths to avoid it. If they must face it, they will always approach it from the perspective of their feelings. In conflict situations, INFPs place little importance on who is right and who is wrong. They focus on the way that the conflict makes them feel, and indeed don't really care whether or not they're right. They don't want to feel badly. This trait sometimes makes them appear irrational and illogical in conflict situations. On the other hand, INFPs make very good mediators, and are typically good at solving other people's conflicts because they intuitively understand people's perspectives and feelings, and genuinely want to help them. INFPs are flexible and laid back, until one of their values is violated. In the face of their value system being threatened, INFPs can become aggressive defenders, fighting passionately for their cause. When an INFP has adopted a project or job which they are interested in, it usually becomes a cause for them. Although they are not detail-oriented individuals, they will cover every possible detail with determination and vigor when working for their cause. When it comes to the mundane details of life maintenance, INFPs are typically completely unaware of such things. They might go for long periods without noticing a stain on the carpet, but carefully and meticulously brush a speck of dust off of their project booklet. INFPs do not like to deal with hard facts and logic. Their focus on their feelings and the human condition makes it difficult for them to deal with impersonal judgment. They don't understand or believe in the validity of impersonal judgment, which makes them naturally rather ineffective at using it. Most INFPs will avoid impersonal analysis, although some have developed this ability and are able to be quite logical. Under stress, it's not uncommon for INFPs to misuse hard logic in the heat of anger, throwing out fact after, often inaccurate fact, in an emotional outburst. INFPs have very high standards and are perfectionists. Consequently, they are usually hard on themselves and don't give themselves enough credit. INFPs may have problems working on a project in a group because their standards are likely to be higher than other members of the group. In group situations, they may have a control problem. The INFP needs to work on balancing their high ideals with the requirements of everyday living. Without resolving this conflict, they will never be happy with themselves, and they may become confused and paralyzed about what to do with their lives. INFPs are usually talented writers. They may be awkward and uncomfortable with expressing themselves verbally, but have a wonderful ability to define and express what they're feeling on paper. INFPs also appear frequently in social service professions, such as counseling or teaching. They are at their best in situations where they're working towards the public good, and in which they don't need to use hard logic. INFPs who function in their well-developed sides can accomplish great and wonderful things, which they will rarely give themselves credit for. Some of the great humanistic catalysts in the world have been INFPs. Chapter 16. The Guardian, ESTJ. Extroverted, sensing, thinking, judging. ESTJs live in a world of facts and concrete needs. They live in the present with their eye constantly scanning their personal environment to make sure that everything is running smoothly and systematically. They honor traditions and laws and have a clear set of standards and beliefs. They expect the same of others and have no patience or understanding of individuals who do not value these systems. They value competence and efficiency and like to see quick results for their efforts. ESTJs are take-charge people. They have such a clear vision of the way that things should be that they naturally step into leadership roles. They are self-confident and aggressive. They are extremely talented at devising systems and plans for action, and at being able to see what steps need to be taken to complete a specific task. They can sometimes be very demanding and critical because they have such strongly held beliefs and are likely to express themselves without reserve if they feel someone isn't meeting their standards. But at least their expressions can be taken at face value, because the ESTJ is extremely straightforward and honest. The ESTJ is usually a model citizen and pillar of the community. He or she takes their commitments seriously and follows their own standards of good citizenship to the letter. ESTJ enjoys interacting with people and likes to have fun. ESTJs can be very boisterous and fun at social events, especially activities which are focused on the family, community, or work. The ESTJ needs to watch out for the tendency to be too rigid and to become overly detail-oriented. Since they put a lot of weight in their own beliefs, it's important that they remember to value other people's input and opinions. If they neglect their feelings side, they may have a problem with fulfilling others' needs for intimacy, and may unknowingly hurt people's feelings by applying logic and reason to situations which demand more emotional sensitivity. When bogged down by stress, an ESTJ often feels isolated from others. They feel as if they are misunderstood and undervalued, and that their efforts are taken for granted. Although normally the ESTJ is very verbal and doesn't have any problem expressing themselves when under stress, they have a hard time putting their feelings into words and communicating them to others. ESTJs value security and social order above all else, and feel obligated to do all that they can to enhance and promote these goals. They will mow the lawn, vote, join the PTA, attend homeowners association meetings, and generally do anything that they can to promote personal and social security. The ESTJ puts forth a lot of effort in almost everything that they do. They will do everything that they think should be done in their job, marriage, and community with a good amount of energy. He or she is conscientious, practical, realistic, and dependable. While the ESTJ will dutifully do everything that is important to work towards a particular cause or goal, they might not naturally see or value the importance of goals which are outside of their practical scope. However, if the ESTJ is able to see the relevance of such goals to practical concerns, you can bet that they'll put every effort into understanding them and incorporating them into their quest for clarity and security. Chapter 17. The Caregiver. ESFJ. Extroverted, sensing, feeling, judging. As an ESFJ, your primary mode of living is focused externally, where you deal with things according to how you feel about them, or how they fit in with your personal value system. Your secondary mode is internal, where you take things in via your five senses in a literal, concrete fashion. ESFJs are people persons. They love people. They are warmly interested in others. They use their sensing and judging characteristics to gather specific, detailed information about others and turn this information into supportive judgments. They want to like people and have a special skill at bringing out the best in others. They are extremely good at reading others and understanding their point of view. The ESFJ's strong desire to be liked and for everything to be pleasant makes them highly supportive of others. People like to be around ESFJs because the ESFJ has a special gift of invariably making people feel good about themselves. The ESFJ takes their responsibilities very seriously and is very dependable. They value security and stability and have a strong focus on the details of life. They see, before others do, what needs to be done and do whatever it takes to make sure that it gets done. They enjoy these types of tasks and are extremely good at them. ESFJs are warm and energetic. They need approval from others to feel good about themselves. They are hurt by indifference and don't understand unkindness. They are very giving people who get a lot of their personal satisfaction from the happiness of others. They want to be appreciated for who they are and what they give. They're very sensitive to others and freely give practical care. ESFJs are such caring individuals that they sometimes have a hard time seeing or accepting a difficult truth about someone they care about. With extroverted feeling dominating their personality, ESFJs are focused on reading other people. They have a strong need to be liked and to be in control. They are extremely good at reading others and often change their own manner to be more pleasing to whoever they're with at the moment. The ESFJ's value system is defined externally. They usually have very well-formed ideas about the way things should be and are not shy about expressing these opinions. However, they weigh their values and morals against the world around them rather than against an internal value system. They may have a strong moral code, but it is defined by the community that they live in rather than by any strongly felt internal values. ESFJs who have had the benefit of being raised and surrounded by a strong value system that is ethical and centered around genuine goodness will most likely be the kindest, most generous souls who will gladly give you the shirt off their back without a second thought. For these individuals, the selfless quality of their personality type is genuine and pure. ESFJs who have not had the advantage of developing their own values by weighing them against a good external value system may develop very questionable values. In such cases, the ESFJ most often genuinely believes in the integrity of their skewed value system. They have no internal understanding of values to set them straight. In weighing their values against our society, they find plenty of support for whatever moral transgression they wish to justify. This type of ESFJ is a dangerous person indeed. Extroverted feeling drives them to control and manipulate, and their lack of intuition prevents them from seeing the big picture. They're usually quite popular and good with people, and good at manipulating them. Unlike their ENFJ cousin, they don't have intuition to help them understand the real consequences of their actions. They are driven to manipulate others to achieve their own ends, yet they believe that they are following a solid moral code of conduct. All ESFJs have a natural tendency to want to control their environment. Their dominant function demands structure and organization and seeks closure. ESFJs are most comfortable with structured environments. They're not likely to enjoy having to do things which involve abstract, theoretical concepts or impersonal analysis. They do enjoy creating order and structure, and are very good at tasks which require these kinds of skills. ESFJs should be careful about controlling people in their lives who do not wish to be controlled. ESFJs respect and believe in the laws and rules of authority, and believe that others should do so as well. They're traditional and prefer to do things in the established way, rather than venturing into uncharted territory. Their need for security drives their ready acceptance and adherence to the policies of the established system. This tendency may cause them to sometimes blindly accept rules without questioning or understanding them. An ESFJ who has developed in a less than ideal way may be prone to being quite insecure and focus all of their attention on pleasing others. He or she might also be very controlling or overly sensitive, imagining bad intentions when there weren't any. ESFJs incorporate many of the traits that are associated with women in our society. However, male ESFJs will usually not appear feminine at all. On the contrary, ESFJs are typically quite conscientious about gender roles and will be most comfortable playing a role that suits their gender in our society. Male ESFJs will be quite masculine. albeit sensitive when you get to know them, and female ESFJs will be very feminine. ESFJs at their best are warm, sympathetic, helpful, cooperative, tactful, down-to-earth, practical, thorough, consistent, organized, enthusiastic, and energetic. They enjoy tradition and security, and will seek stable lives that are rich in contact with friends and family. Chapter 18. The Inspirer, ENFP. Extroverted, intuitive, feeling, perceiving. As an ENFP, your primary mode of living is focused externally, where you take things in primarily via your intuition. Your secondary mode is internal, where you deal with things according to how you feel about them, or how they fit in with your personal value system. ENFPs are warm, enthusiastic people, typically very bright and full of potential. They live in the world of possibilities, and can become very passionate and excited about things. Their enthusiasm lends them the ability to inspire and motivate others, more so than we see in other types. They can talk their way in or out of anything. They love life, seeing it as a special gift, and strive to make the most out of it. ENFPs have an unusually broad range of skills and talents. They are good at most things which interest them. Project-oriented, they may go through several different careers during their lifetime. To onlookers, the ENFP may seem directionless and without purpose, but ENFPs are actually quite consistent, in that they have a strong sense of values which they live with throughout their lives. Everything that they do must be in line with their values. An ENFP needs to feel that they are living their lives as their true self, walking in step with what they believe is right. They see meaning in everything, and are on a continuous quest to adapt their lives and values to achieve inner peace. They're constantly aware and somewhat fearful of losing touch with themselves. Since emotional excitement is usually an important part of the ENFP's life, and because they are focused on keeping centered, the ENFP is usually an intense individual with highly evolved values. An ENFP needs to focus on following through with their projects. This can be a problem area for some of these individuals. Unlike other extroverted types, ENFPs need time alone to center themselves and make sure they are moving in a direction which is in sync with their values. ENFPs who remain centered will usually be quite successful at their endeavors. Others may fall into the habit of dropping a project when they become excited about a new possibility, and thus they never achieve the great accomplishments which they are capable of achieving. Most ENFPs have great people skills. They are genuinely warm and interested in people, and place great importance on their interpersonal relationships. ENFPs almost always have a strong need to be liked. Sometimes, especially at a younger age, an ENFP will tend to be gushy and insincere, and generally overdo in an effort to win acceptance. However, once an ENFP has learned to balance their need to be true to themselves with their need for acceptance, they excel at bringing out the best in others, and are typically well liked. They have an exceptional ability to intuitively understand a person after a very short period of time, and use their intuition and flexibility to relate to others on their own level. Because ENFPs live in the world of exciting possibilities, the details of everyday life are seen as trivial drudgery. They place no importance on detailed, maintenance-type tasks, and will frequently remain oblivious to these types of concerns. When they do have to perform these tasks, they do not enjoy themselves. This is a challenging area of life for most ENFPs, and can be frustrating for ENFP's family members. An ENFP who has gone wrong may be quite manipulative, and very good at it. The gift of gab which they are blessed with makes it naturally easy for them to get what they want. Most ENFPs will not abuse their abilities, because that would not jive with their value systems. ENFPs sometimes make serious errors in judgment. They have an amazing ability to intuitively perceive the truth about a person or situation, but when they apply judgment to their perception, they may jump to the wrong conclusions. ENFPs who have not learned to follow through may have a difficult time remaining happy in marital relationships. Always seeing the possibilities of what they could be, they may become bored with what actually is. The strong sense of values will keep many ENFPs dedicated to their relationships. However, ENFPs like a little excitement in their lives and are best matched with individuals who are comfortable with change and new experiences. Having an ENFP parent can be a fun-filled experience, but may be stressful at times for children with strong sensing or judging tendencies. Such children may see the ENFP parent as inconsistent and difficult to understand, as the children are pulled along in the whirlwind life of the ENFP. Sometimes the ENFP will want to be their child's best friend, and at other times they will play the parental authoritarian. But ENFPs are always consistent in their value systems, which they will impress on their children above all else, along with a basic joy of living. ENFPs are basically happy people. They may become unhappy when they are confined to strict schedules or mundane tasks. Consequently, ENFPs work best in situations where they have a lot of flexibility, and where they can work with people and ideas. Many go into business for themselves. They have the ability to be quite productive with little supervision, as long as they are excited about what they're doing. Because they are so alert and sensitive, constantly scanning their environments, ENFPs often suffer from muscle tension. They have a strong need to be independent and resist being controlled or labelled. They need to maintain control over themselves, but they do not believe in controlling others. Their dislike of dependence and suppression extends to others as well as to themselves. ENFPs are charming, ingenious, risk-taking, sensitive, people-oriented individuals with capabilities ranging across a broad spectrum. They have many gifts which they will use to fulfill themselves and those near them, if they are able to remain centered and master the ability of following through. Chapter 19. Personality Type Tests. Personality type tests can be used for various purposes. For example, they can prove to be a useful tool for finding out the type of your personality, your skills, values, etc. Or you can use them just for the sake of assessing what type of person you are. Personality tests are, however, now frequently used to determine your aptitude for a certain type of occupation or career. Most business houses now use personality tests before hiring their staff. People even use them to make an assessment of their dates and spouses. Salespeople, lawyers, and college students. Everyone tries to make use of them for their own specific purpose. Through the use of aptitude tests, you can have a measure of your ability to acquire a skill or perform a particular type of job. No wonder these tests are applied by business houses for shortlisting job seekers. Although there are tests on just about every topic you can think of, career tests are by far the most in demand. They can give a fair indication of which job or career will best match your ability and personality. Intelligence tests or IQ tests use specially designed procedures to measure your mental skills. It is quantified as intelligence quotient that is found by dividing your mental age by your chronological age and multiplying the result by 100. Many of the personality tests are available online for free. If you are unable to interpret these tests on your own, you can consult an experienced counselor to help you. Chapter 20. Personality Type Color Code. What's your personality color? Here is a simple test for you. If you had to pick one favorite color, what would it be? We are not talking about your clothes or paint for your living room. The question is, what color appeals to you the most? Don't overthink this. Answer the question spontaneously. It's okay to have 2 or 3 favorite colors. Write that down. This is the key to your personality color. While most people think that colors don't have any impact on our choices, feelings, and behaviors, a closer look into this matter proves exactly opposite. Would you paint your bedroom in yellow? Would you wear a bright green outfit to work? Most will say no, but if the above statement were true, then why not? Psychology of color. The issue is, we all perceive colors quite differently, and trying to figure out general rules is very hard. There are warm shades and cold shades to each colour, and you can feel differently about each version. In addition, most of us see some colours inappropriate for certain purposes despite the fact that we actually love them. For example, while you may absolutely love red, it doesn't mean you want to have red shoes and red handbag. You may dislike brown, but when it comes to shoes and handbags, brown would be your colour of choice. As said earlier, same colour can be perceived very differently by different people. Let's take black for example. There are people who love black. They find it classy, fashionable, even sexy. On the other hand, there are so many people who have bias against black colour. They associate it with mourning and sadness. What you think is cool and sexy is depressing to them. Personality colours. The 4 colour personalities are red, blue, yellow, and white. No type is better or worse than another, and each type has both good and bad aspects. Red. Reds are motivated by power. They are competitive and potentially bossy. They like to be right. They tend to be extroverted and unaccepting. The website says Reds need to look good technically, be right, and be respected. They are strong leaders and love challenges. Some examples of famous Reds possibly include Donald Trump, Napoleon Bonaparte, General Patton, Machiavelli, Michael Jordan, and fictional characters Cornelius Fudge and Voldemort. Comparing to the DISC personality chart, they are Ds, and comparing to the elements of personality, they are fire. Blue. Blues tend to be perfectionists. They are often do-gooders, interested in justice and the good of all people. They are often introverted and unaccepting. The website says blues need to have integrity and be accepted. They are focused on quality and creating strong relationships. Some examples of famous blues might be Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, and Martin Luther King Jr. Some fictional blues are both Harry Potter and Hermione Granger, and Gandalf. Comparing to the DISC personality chart, they are Cs, and comparing to the elements of personality, they are Earth. Yellows. Yellows are creative free spirits. They are fun-loving and artistic. They tend to be extroverted and accepting. The website says yellows need to be noticed and have fun. They love life, social connections, and being positive and spontaneous. Walt Disney, Oscar Wilde, and Richard Branson might be yellows. The Weasley twins in Harry Potter are classic yellow personalities. Comparing to the DISC personality chart, they are eyes, and comparing to the elements of personality, they are ear. Whites. Whites obviously can be of any race. The term white here only refers to personality. Whites are motivated by peace and are introverted and accepting. The website says whites need to be accepted and treated with kindness. They are logical, objective, and tolerant of others. Gandhi and Nelson Mandela are probably both whites, and fictional characters Ron Weasley and Dumbledore are whites as well. Comparing to the DISC personality chart, they are S's, and comparing to the elements of personality, they are water. Chapter 21. Understanding employees' personality types. To enhance productivity, efficiency, and performance, it is important to understand personality styles and interpersonal dynamics. 1. Avoidant personality. Characterized by extreme social phobia, hypersensitive to any criticism, fear of people, isolation. This type of employee can be very reliable and compliant if placed in low-level occupation roles where little to no communication and personal interaction is required. They are non-threatening and non-demanding, usually have very few, if any, friends. They are stable and eager to take extra work, often because they are too shy to object and dislike confrontations. These type of people are not antisocial, just intimidated by people, and especially authority figures. They do not need to be micromanaged or disciplined. They normally accomplish all work on time and make few mistakes. On the downside, avoidant employees will not perform well in leadership positions, and it can be a big mistake to place them in managerial roles. They can be easily manipulated and intimidated, and even drown into illegal practices. They are best fitted for jobs that require little interaction, such as clerical, administrative, computer engineering, web-based positions, accounting. They lack human connection, and thus motivated by simple empathy, coaching and counseling. They fear being misunderstood and rejected. They get along with everyone. 2. Dependent personality. Can do well with narcissistic or borderline type manager. They are constantly in need of guidance and direction. Their questions never stop and need to be reassured at every step of the way. Because they are in constant need to be told what to do, they make good assistants, and when trained well can become good, loyal workers. Dependent personalities need people and fear being alone. They are ready-made followers. They fear being disliked or rejected if they make wrong decisions, and would not make good leaders. On the downside, it can get frustrating and annoying, and systematic policies will need to be implemented that can be used as direction. Their indecisiveness and lack of direction can cost a fortune if they are left in charge. Approval is their emotional oxygen, and they can be easily motivated by positive feedback. They can make reliable, loyal, and stable workers. Histrionic personality. Shows a pattern of constant need of attention, excitement, enthusiastic and go-getters. They are excellent in leadership, make great salespeople, speakers, actors, and teachers. Their life is an emotional roller coaster. They rely on their intuition and go with their gut feeling. They love to be in front of crowds of people, always the life of the party, are likable and generous people. When they are happy, everybody is happy, but working with them can be a joy or a misery. Their mood can abruptly switch. They can get angry, depressed, and miserable. They take everything personally and have all or nothing mentality that can be dangerous. In some cases, they can cross the line and violate the rules. They can make your business a fortune, but it will be a roller coaster ride. Use their strengths, the energy, enthusiasm, creativity, and provide as much detail and guidance as possible. They will take it from there. Due to the lack of their organizational skills, they might need an assistant. They also need to be constantly reminded of company rules and policies. They are easily motivated by their own success and need little guidance. Be careful and calm when evaluating their performance, as they will take it personally. They need little to be said to be corrected and make excellent leaders. This type of person can get easily angry and frustrated at overly dependent personalities asking too many questions, but will work well with avoidant employee and obsessive-compulsive personality type. 4. Borderline personality. Thinking is, this is the best job I'll ever have and the worst place I've ever worked. They are dangerously unstable, excessively emotional, irrational, and impulsive. They make decisions they regret later. If you can detect borderline personality, you want to avoid hiring this person at all costs. They expect you to believe whatever they believe, and if you don't, they will get angry. They go from high manic state, where they are full of energy, optimism, extreme happiness, to rock bottom, where they are depressed and suicidal. They can act crazy, neurotic, and need medical attention. They feel entitled to manipulate people and expect them to follow. They either love you or hate you. There is no grey area. It is white or black. They are unpredictable and act based on what they feel at the moment. Their personal lives are usually chaotic, with stormy romances, drama, mood swings, impulsive spending, substance abuse, and poor health. Some borderlines can be knowledgeable and competent, and can be a reliable employee if you are on their good side. They are motivated by a sense of stability, reliability, and support. They are unstable, hence they need someone to rely on in their personal and professional life. If you can create and give them a sense of stability and meaning, you might be the one of few people in their life, and they can give it all to you, and be one of the best employees you have ever had. Be calm and compassionate in their performance evaluation, as it is easy to make them feel angry and resentful. 5. Narcissistic personality. Have feelings of entitlement, do not live by the rules, believe that they are smarter and greater than everyone else, have a sense of grandiosity. They usually believe that they are more competent and unappreciated. It's my way or the highway. I'm special and deserve to be successful. Others do not like me because they are jealous of my talents. They do not work well within a corporate structure and sometimes make enthusiastic and charismatic leaders with their own agenda. They like to feel good at the expense of others and believe that what's good for them is good for others. While they can be skilled, brilliant, and impressive, they tend to take things personally. It is not uncommon for them to engage in vindictive behavior if they feel betrayed. They have a natural trait to manipulate others and exploit for their own purpose. They usually say more than they really are and use intimidation to subordinate others. They frequently engage in illegal practices and can be a huge liability risk. Because they believe that the world revolves around them, they see little use in self-improvement or continuing education. They need to be managed carefully, in a diplomatic way, and often with ass-kissing. Under the surface of superficially bloated ego lies fragile self-esteem and intense feeling of shame and inadequacy. Narcissist is likely to resort to aggressive litigation and violence when sanctioned or terminated. Disciplining and firing must be done carefully, tactfully, diplomatically, and well documented. 6. Antisocial personality is the most dangerous type in working environment. This type of people would do whatever it takes to make their ends meet at the expense of everything and everyone without any regard or conscience. It is not always detectable and can ruin the whole company. They will do absolute minimum at work, take advantage of every benefit, drive clients away. Ruin reputation, manipulate others in their unethical practices and illegal activities. Some of them become cutthroat entrepreneurs with usually shady schemes and predatory ways of going over everyone else. They can be confrontational, violent, destructive, and impulsive. Extensive criminal record would most likely rule them out from being hired from the start. 7. Obsessive-compulsive personality is a type that dedicates everything to perfection and attention to details. They normally excel at their job at the expense of their social life. They are scientists, planners, engineers, economists, editors. They can work well with almost every personality type as they are getting the job done, and that's their only obsession. They are not confrontational or violent, and most frequently calculative, organized, and focused on their project. Dependent personality would be a good assistant to an obsessive-compulsive manager. They have high expectations of themselves and make demanding managers. Everybody will be expected to keep up the pace. They believe that there is always room for improvement and take their job seriously. As employees, they often spend too much time perfecting the project that can cause delays and need to be reminded of deadlines. They are motivated by the sense of achievement and give it 110%. At times, they need to be given a sense of direction and deadlines as they can get stuck on details and be indecisive about the direction of the project. It is the easiest and most satisfactory type of people to work with. The job is always done and no drama. 8. Paranoid personality. Type is characterized by constant distrust and suspiciousness. They keep their guard up and do not open up easily. They believe that people can't be trusted. The world is full of mean and selfish people who will hurt and betray them. If they focus on work, they can achieve considerable success, especially in complex strategic planning. They also have a talent for technical details, good memory, and strategic visions. They can make good leaders after they gain trust and comfort in their work environment. Expect suspicious questioning of other people's motives and reasons of assignment. They like to hear calm, rational explanations and respond well to logic, rather than assurances or promises. Always be honest to gain their trust. They usually have sharp intuitive skills and can tell lies right away. Paranoid psyche is driven by a sense of entitlement and superiority, often in compensation of their personal inferiority feeling. They view business as a combat field and have a defensive approach. They are ready to beat you in your own game, keep their friends close and enemies closer. You never know what is their agenda. In extreme cases, it might be challenging to work with paranoid employees, and it can create stressful and hostile work environment. When betrayed, the paranoid will hunt you down and punish. A planned-out bitterly way, once on the hit list, your fate is sealed. They believe that nothing is their fault. 9. Passive-aggressive personality. Type believe that life is not fair, nothing is their fault, everything bad happens to them even though they do everything right, they are a victim and always have perfectly explainable reasons. They never take responsibility and act like an injured party. They are passive in their work, masters of procrastination, and use self-handicapping techniques that they can use as an excuse for work not being done. They are aggressive, malicious, and can be involved in sabotage, corporate espionage, malicious whistleblowing, and can sink any company. They are notorious to file civil lawsuits. Be careful firing that type of person. Document and communicate the reasons for this decision and offer a face-saving way of leaving the company. This person will ultimately become someone else's problem. Be careful with recommendations to avoid further litigation. To create ideal work environment, hire competent professionals who can get along well and get the job done. Screen your applicants carefully to eliminate any obvious troubled people with history of substance abuse, criminal history, lawsuits, poor performance record, and financial problems. They will be nothing but trouble and a waste of time. Devote enough time to hiring the right people. They are the ones who will make you a good manager and help the company grow. Chapter 22. Your level of success in life. Each of us are different in many ways, and that fact cannot possibly be disputed by anyone who has any background in the human sciences, as it has been scientifically proven that we all have unique fingerprints, DNA, hair, looks, behavior, and facial expressions, and the combination of these things makes us unique personality types, so to speak. We also function from two different perspectives, and we need to understand how each one of us functions. We each like to think that we are special, which we are, and in that portrayal system we mostly portray what we perceive we want people to think about us. On the other side of the coin, we have a reality in what we truly believe about ourselves, and the way we feel inwardly. Many of us become disillusioned with our true inner picture simply because of a misunderstanding of our personal purpose in life. The fact that we allow this dissatisfaction to creep into our lives, we create an inner insecurity within ourselves, and we then start looking at others, or alternatively, we start behaving like others, which is completely outside our true personality, thereby attempting to look different, behave different, think different, dress different, and when looking at our big picture, become dissatisfied with our true personality, allowing society to name us as a personality type, which is definitely going to influence our level to be successful in life. Society has made us believe that we need to conform to a standard of behavior, which then classifies us into various but different personality types, which seems impossible to escape from due to the social pressures placed on the society by those who wish to control our lives. This type of personality manipulation is starting at a very young age in this modern time, where young boys or girls are given labels commonly known as attention deficit disorder, ADD, or alternatively attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD. This immediately creates a personality label, which has been proven through research conducted by the author and many other scholars to be false and completely far from the true reality. The fact that each one of us are uniquely different, and those different likes or dislikes and different beliefs between good and bad, or alternatively right or wrong, and at the same time have many different talents in different areas. Should we be in school and have little interest in the subjects being taught? Our attention span in the subject would be very short, making the ability to concentrate on the subject virtually impossible. This does not mean that there is something wrong with us as unique individuals. It only means that we have no interest in the subject, and therefore have nothing to motivate us in order to pay attention. We then start filling that time with some other activity to keep ourselves amused or occupied, and more often than not disrupt the attention of others who have an interest in the subject. This behavior is then interpreted as a mental disorder of sorts, namely ADHD, which in reality is totally a false perception. We have to consider such behavior as being disruptive, and it would make a teacher's life difficult. However, that does not mean that our personality type is wrong, and therefore by creating such labels as being stupid, disobedient, impossible, lazy, etc., does not make our personality type a mental disorder of any kind, which was handed out by a third party's perception, who really does not have a clue what our real motivating fields of interest are at the outset. These labels create a lot of inner insecurity, as we are led to believe from the supposedly experts that there is something radically wrong with us, creating a sense of feelings that are different to others, making our behavior unacceptable and improper. Our self-perceptions are moved in such a way that we desire recognition for who we really are, and we then start looking at others who may have different areas of talents, creating a desire to be just like them. These individuals are looked upon as stars and heroes with envy. This leads us into attempting to look like them and act like them, which is completely contradictory to our own personality. By trying to change those inner characteristics, which results in us becoming or entering into a state of dysfunctionality, whereby our self-esteem degenerates while attempting to take on the personality of those perceived stars or personality types. We will never be able to do that successfully unless we have the right personality values or talents that are similar to those stars, leading us into creating escape mechanisms such as smoking, drinking, and/or drugging, which seems to help us escape from the reality for a very short time, resulting with us having to deal with the reality after a brief few hours once again, resulting in a spiral decline in our ability to cope with acting out in a behavior or a personality which really is not who we are, and thereby inhibiting our true personality to manifest itself in order to live a truly satisfied and fulfilled lifestyle. It is critical for each of us to understand our true, unique inner talents and concentrate on those strengths and talents, rather than being led into a trap of being labelled as a personality type. Many millions of different individuals are struggling with their self-image and esteem, all due to the social pressures through advertising, movies, and various other social media, where they have created ideals of who we should be and what we should dress like and look like to be socially acceptable. The biggest question that has remained unanswered for decades now is, who set the standards for a personality type? And who judges that personality type? Against what criteria? Should one have been labelled as a personality type and one does not meet that criteria, whatever that criteria may be, it will definitely have a negative influence on your level of success in your life. In order to live a fulfilled lifestyle, follow your passions and dreams, and do not let anyone persuade you into believing that you have to comply with others' opinions and beliefs in order to fulfill the role as a personality type. Chapter 23. A powerful tool for improving your relationship. Do you know the number one factor couples cite as crucial to the satisfaction with their relationship? That's right, it's good communication. There are so many issues couples can disagree about: money, children, in-laws, work, but whether or not these issues become problems depends on how well you can communicate. If you have serious communication issues, you may need couples counselling. But if your relationship works most of the time, but you occasionally find yourself at a dead end when talking to your partner, or if you sometimes just find yourself saying, "What can he be thinking?" then improving your understanding of each other is the key to making your relationship even better. We often marry people who are very different from ourselves, and this can be the perfect choice. If we find a partner who excels in the areas where we're weak, that can make for a great team. Problems can arise, however, when it comes to understanding each other's thinking. Here's an example. David and Julie have been married for 5 years. Most of the time, their marriage works. David tends to be the forward-thinking partner. He's always looking at some new investment for the couple or dreaming up a home improvement project. Julie prefers to take care of the details. She's the one to pay the bills on time and make sure that the couple is prepared to take on all those projects that David dreams up. They make a good team, but sometimes Julie gets annoyed with David having his head in the clouds all the time. David, on the other hand, feels like sometimes Julie is just too involved with mundane details and can't see the big picture. How can we explain this couple's differences? There is a simple answer: personality type. Julie is a more concrete type. David is more abstract. According to the system of Myers-Briggs personality type, which is one of the most well-known and widely used personality theories in the world, Julie is a sensor, while David is an intuitive. Julie trusts what she can see. David trusts ideas. This is only one aspect of personality, however. There are 4 scales in total. Extroverted/introverted. Do you get your energy from being around other people or from being alone? Sensing/intuitive. Do you see what's real or what's possible? Thinking/feeling. Do you make decisions based on logic or feelings and values? Judging/perceiving. Do you like to plan and schedule or keep your options open? The 4 scales are combined to make 16 total personality types. Each person's type is described using a 4-letter abbreviation, ISTG for example, or ENFP. The most common combinations for couples are a match for 2 out of the 4 scales. For instance, an ESTJ might be married to an ESFP. This means that most couples have a significant common ground in the way they think and make decisions. It also means that most couples have significant differences. To find out your personality type and that of your partner, the most accurate way is for you both to take the official Myers-Briggs type indicator. This is an approximately 45-minute test that has been extensively researched and validated. Your results will tell you your 4-letter type and those of your partner, and allow you to compare your similarities and differences. Recently, the MBTI has become available in an online format, which provides same-day results so you and your partner can make a weekend project of studying your personality types. Once you have figured out your type and your partner's, you're ready to take a look at how they interact. Here's a look at how differences can play out in a relationship. Introverted partner with extroverted partner. Often, an extrovert can draw out an introvert and introduce them to social events they wouldn't normally gravitate to. Similarly, an introvert can help an extrovert become more focused and self-reliant. Friction arises when an extrovert wants more social interaction than their introvert partner. The extrovert may need to learn to be okay with attending gatherings alone. Sensing with intuitive. As we saw in the example of David and Julie, this couple has fundamental differences in the way they think and place importance on different aspects of life. It's important to focus here on the way these 2 qualities complement each other in a relationship. Both aspects of this scale are needed for an effective team. Thinking with feeling. This is the only scale with a gender difference, which means that women are more likely to be feeling types, while men are more likely to be thinking. Having a balance on this scale can work well if each partner remembers that the other has something important to contribute. In every decision made together, both the logic of the situation and the values and feeling of all involved should be considered. Each partner should keep in mind that no decision should be made with only the head or only the heart. Judging with perceiving. This difference most often shows itself in a simple exclamation. Why is he or she always late? A judging partner will sometimes see a perceiving partner as flighty or unreliable, while the perceiver may get frustrated that the judger can't seem to be spontaneous. Again, the value comes in appreciating the difference. A more spontaneous partner can help a judger to remember that not everything has to be planned and decided in advance. And a perceiver can use a reminder that sometimes things do just go more smoothly when there is a plan or schedule. If you're coupled with someone who has a different personality type than you do, remember, most successful couples do have significant differences. In fact, 10% of couples who have none of the scales in common. The key lies in understanding your differences and remembering that your partner's different viewpoint is an important contribution to your success as a couple. Thanks again for buying my book. If you have a minute, please leave a review. I take reviews seriously and always look at them. This way you are helping me provide you better content that you will love in the future. A review doesn't have to be long, just 1 or 2 sentences and a number of stars you find appropriate. Hopefully 5, of course. Also, if I think your review is useful, I will mark it as helpful. This will help you become more known on Amazon as a decent reviewer, and will ensure that more authors will contact you with free ebooks in the future. This is how we can help each other. Take a look at these other books too. Bipolar disorder, borderline disorder, and schizophrenia. This has been Personality Types. Discover your true type through elaborate analyses. Written by Tyler Borden. Narrated by Thomas Cassidy. Copyright 2018 by Vincent Newt. Production copyright 2018 by Vincent Newt.